Everyone, it's Jay here from the Training Court Podcast, a Pokemon TCG podcast bringing you anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. If you are looking for Pokemon TCG competitive decks ready to go, including GLC decks, please head over to Pokédex4u.com. Pokédex4u has a variety of decks ready for sale, with each deck being fully customizable and bespoke to your needs. Use the code TrainingCourtTCG for 5% off your first order. Now let's get on to the episode. Hello everyone and welcome to the Training Court TCG podcast, a podcast about anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. Jay here, and this week we have a whole new lineup actually. There's only half of the original team still remaining. So I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts as usual, Andy, but we are also joined by two special co-hosts, Chris and Sean. Hi Chris, hi Sean, how you doing?
Not bad, you? Loving Pokemon.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you for jumping on. As you guys can see, Cath and Alex unfortunately couldn't make it this week. So we have actually spoken about Chris and Sean quite a few times in the podcast. So Chris and Sean play at our locals, and they also attended regionals and DUIC with us. So they're part of our essentially Pokemon trading card game crew, if you could call it that, and obviously helping us on our competitive journey to try and improve, which, spoiler for me, it's not happening, but yeah, so thank you guys for joining me. What we'll do is, as you are new to the podcast, what we'll do as usual is ask you some questions. So we're going to go age before beauty. So Chris, how did you get into Pokemon TCG, and how long have you been playing, and how did you get into it?
I don't know when I got my first Pokemon cards, because I have like a stack, like I think a lot of kids my age did. Like I that of just base set Pokemon cards, really beaten up, very very sad. But I think kind of actually getting into the card game, I genuinely don't know how old it was. I think it was around XY Breakpoint, because I remember buying cards before Sean actually. As like a present, and open them up thinking these are cool, right? and it's kind of on and off through kind of like Breakpoint onwards, and I think it was around Fighting Fists, Phantom Force, when we actually kind of started buying Furious Fist, buy more cards. But to actually get competitive, I think it was kind of early Sun and Moon was when we actually started to put decks together, and actually start kind of playing, trading, looking at how to build competitive decks, like 4-off trainers and things like that.
Yeah, is that the same for you, Sean? Is it?
Well, I started collecting the Furious Fist time, Phantom Force, and then because Chris obviously bought me presents of it, I did washing up for money, to save money, pocket money to buy cards.
Sure,
I'll remember that now for my kids.
And then I just opened, and then I just played the online client. I played that a bit, but I never did local in person. And it was like about Breakpoint and stuff. I started taking an interest properly, and then it was like saying with my brother about Ultra Prism, Fibonacci. We started playing competitively in Manchester at Fanboy. Just starting going to their local league. But I remember watching the World Championships in 2012, 2013, all the way through. Yeah, I remember watching them. So
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
going a while.
Oh no, brilliant. So what's been your? Obviously, you've seen different different types of archetypes from the game. You've seen, obviously, like you said, Breakpoint cards, break cards. You've seen obviously Sun and Moon, the GX cards. You've lived through Vs and V Maxes, V Stars, and now we're back onto EXs. What's been your favorite era of Pokemon, would you say?
I'd probably say, I don't know. I feel like it might be nostalgia, but I do like the X and Y era. And the Megas, I like Megas, even though they're a bit crap because the ended your turn. But they were good fun. Like online as well, I had the Mega Lucario. That's one of my favorite Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I think that hand in hand helped with it as well. So yeah, I really liked X and Y cards, and it's kind of a shame I didn't play it more competitively back then. But obviously, I didn't have the money to actually buy cards.
No, it's difficult. Chris, how about you?
I would say Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon was so good. It's like when we got into the competitive scene and looking back on it as well. the whole kind of, which we're going back to now with the evolving EXs and things like that.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy kind of throwing down this tiny little baby Pokemon and then just rare candying this huge two-prizer. And that's what kind of I felt was missing with Vs when I was playing. Like, you're dropping these Vs and they're just rubbish.
Yeah.
Like, they have no attacks, they have no abilities. They're just two prizes that sit there ready to get knocked out. And it just kind of like made the game really stale when you just have to drop two Vs down to make sure you could play your actual kind of deck that you wanted to play, and one would get gusted and two prizes and gone. But Sun and Moon was just fantastic, and towards the end of Sun and Moon was probably when I've had the most fun playing competitive. I don't know what it was about the tag team Darkrai Umbreon. I don't know what it was about that deck, but I still have really fond memories of playing it with like Darkrai Prism, like putting things to sleep, and that like you could tell the story of like you got 4 turns of sleep, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's just I just really enjoyed like that format. It was like Tina Chomp, like early Reshizard and Pikarom, and it was a tag teams made it a little bit broken with the 3 prizes,
ADP and stuff.
Yeah, it was before ADP. But yeah, around there, and like just pre that, like just before that, like the whole GX is like Zoroark was like really good, but it was like really fun to play. And doing the trade for 2, which is, you know, obviously like we see a Guardian now, like a very strong ability to just churn through your deck and control resources and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's an era that I've always liked the look of, because obviously, like I said, we've not been playing that long. We started, I think it was about Brilliant Stars time. So we've not been playing that long. Not even a year and a half really. But looking back and seeing firstly the arts were phenomenal. Seeing the artworks and the Cosmic Eclipse and the tag team stuff, it just looks phenomenal. But it always, I think I played some decks before we moved to standard, when it was expanded, and I played against some decks and just some of the abilities were just broken, absolutely so broken. So but it was it looks a really, really cool era. So I think what's your thoughts overall on the move to Scarlet and Violet? Obviously, during the presentation, when it was announced EX cards coming back, it was basically pushed in the fact that this is the era of the comeback. So, and I think Iono further enforces that when Paldea Evolve drops, which actually is today. So by the time this episode's out, Paldea Evolve will technically be out. So Iono will be in 2 weeks' time. It will be ready to be in everyone's decks. But what do you think? I mean, so far, early impressions of Scarlet and Violet era?
I think just from what I've seen online from Japanese tournaments and kind of under content that people are talking about that test a bit more than me, especially right now, and the combat mechanics, I think there's a lot of talk about how kind of Roxanne failed, and I am not the biggest fan of Roxanne. I am very much in the camp of this card sucks for like 2/3 of the game, and you always open a Roxanne, or you always get it on your first research. Like that thing haunts me, like honestly. And being able to, and the switch of like the Roxanne to the Iono, where it can be like Iono can be devastating late game, but also you take it in your opening hand, it's like, oh, this is just a draw supporter. You refresh the hand, draw 6. I think that kind of combat mechanic, getting rid of the Roxanne, bringing the Iono is really cool. The other combat mechanics are I'm not too sure, but like, are there any other like major cards that are bringing
there's like that, the
reversal energy.
Reversal energy is another one. That's pretty.
And the was it, what belt was that? Is it the Vitality? Vitality band, is it?
Yeah, but that's not great, is it?
No.
No. Yeah, the reversal energy is the other one, isn't it? It's very good, very strong.
Very good, yeah. Looking forward to that. And obviously we had Joe, Omnipoke Joe, on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he kind of just said, Iono just goes into absolutely everything. I mean, you look at Guardy lists now. You're playing 2 or 3 research. You're playing 1 Judge. You're playing 1 Roxanne. All of a sudden, they all just go out the window for 4 Ionos. It's gonna be mental. But one thing we did touch on with Joe was terrestrializing and terrestrialized Pokemon. What are your thoughts on that and this absolute wasted chance that they had.
Go on, Sean.
Aren't they like getting a decent ability now on the new set? Or like they're not going to just be bench barrier? I'm pretty sure.
Still bench barrier,
Still bench barrier, yeah.
unless they've announced anything new that I've not seen. But as
It's
far as I'm
Charizard.
aware,
Is the Charizard bench barrier?
it's been leaked, hasn't it? Was it a French version got leaked?
Yeah, it's a dark type, right? But
It is a dark type.
bench barrier terror thing. That would suck.
Well, it's still young in the set, really, isn't it? So
There's still stuff they can do with it, but the fact that they haven't already done stuff with it, I saw suggestions of like kind of the first one we saw was Arcanine, right? I think was it Arcanine the first terror?
Magnezone, wasn't it?
No, not Magnezone. That wasn't. That was
I think
the
Arcanine
first
was
Gyarados and Arcanine are the first.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
We saw that had bench barrier, and I think I saw a suggestion of if all fire type terrors had bench barrier, and then what's the other one? Gyarados, or like all water type terror types had a different ability, and they had all different terror abilities depending on their types. I thought that was a really cool idea. Obviously, it's not happened, and I don't know if it will happen. I believe it will happen. I think it's an interesting mechanic they made, and an incredible mechanic in the game as well. It's kind of a game kind of breaking mechanic they added to the video game. I think it changed the way they play VGC because they have to have like, open team now.
Yeah.
For them to not really do something with the TCG would be really confusing. I think they definitely will, but the fact they haven't already, I think, is very disappointing.
Yeah. So the leaked one, well, obviously they got leaked, was the gold version of the Charizard EX Terrestrialize Pokemon. The ability, that one does have an ability called Infernal Rain. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you can search your deck for up to 3 basic fire energies and attach them to your Pokemon any way you want, and then shuffle your deck. But I'm pretty sure that's just the ability of the actual card. I'm pretty sure the Terrestrialize element is still bench barrier. So yeah, atrocious. Hopefully in Worlds they announce, especially if we obviously come to this later on, we've got Obsidian Flame coming in August. We now know that the Pokemon 151 is coming over to UK, Europe, and America in September, I believe. So you'd like to think they kind of announce these things in advance. Hopefully they might announce something at Worlds, very same that they did with Scarlet and Violet. But hopefully they announce something for Terrestrialized Pokemon, because it's such a wasted opportunity. It's so wasted. I think Cath had the best idea, didn't she? Where it's almost like a tool card that changes the Terra type, and it gains like a certain abilities or that weakness, or just even if it's just you change the type, to devoid weakness or gain a resistance or something like that. I think that that's better than what they've got now.
They've done it with like Forest Sealstone and stuff like that, where they gain an ability or so it's not a million miles away of what could happen.
I swear there's something like that in the past where you attach and it changes type. I'm convinced there's like it's like Pixie Plate or something like that. Like they didn't do something with the plates, did they? I'm convinced there's like something you can attach.
Didn't they do something for, is it Silvally and Type Null? Was it the memory?
Yeah, it was.
Memory.
Yeah.
Something again. That's just because I was thinking of a Pokemon that it'd work with, because that was the way it works in the game. I personally, and I remember seeing occasionally you see the cards, but they've hopefully got a plan, because
I'm sure they will have. Yeah.
The way it is at the moment. I mean, at firstly, I prefer the format at the moment. Longer games, you see, although you watch, we'll talk about the results of the weekend. You watch, the streams, and you watch the regionals. You're lucky if you get one game. You get one game, and then maybe a little bit of a second game. The games are definitely going on longer, which isn't a bad thing. But here's another question. Then, given the fact that the games are going on longer, I mean, we played. This kind of links into our usual segment of what did you play this week? We obviously played, myself, Chris and Sean played at Geek Retreat on the league on Tuesday. It felt like I got one game each time, because I was playing Guardy. That's also quite a long, long deck in terms of the length of play. But do you reckon we would ever go to the format like Japan where it's best of one? Especially with games taking long.
Please no.
No.
I mean, I know it's not what we want.
They'd only do that if they wanted to like streamline everything, so everything would need to be the same.
I like to think they'll never take us. It feels like a back step, right? So I think best of 3, it brings out that tactical edge of because we've all played in tournaments. We've all sat down against your opponent and you're like, oh my god, what are they going to flip over that first game? The anticipation, and like for me in London, it was like flipped over a roll. So I'm like, oh my god, oh no, and like if you brick, you're done.
Yeah.
And even if you don't brick, you're kind of going into it and thinking, what kind of build of guard is this? And this was a Klefki build, and I was like, okay. So I won the first game. The second game, I was like, okay, I've got to be real. Okay, the open Klefki, I'm going to have to go down the Melanie route. I can't try and focus on the Comfrey, and it just puts within your head. It drives that tactical kind of knowledge of your opponent, and they were the same. When about my players, I was like, I've got to target down those 2 Comfies, which in fact they did in the second game. It was like instantly 2 Comfies down. I'm like, okay.
It makes for a more interesting game, I think, absolutely. If you do best of 3.
Yeah, because also it's like you can say someone has like a surprise tech in the deck, you can plan for it the game 2 and 3 and maybe get a comeback victory.
Yeah. Do they have Draper and yes or no if you're a Mew player? And some decks do, and some decks don't. And then because that's it's another skill, like holding the tech. If you are like 70% through your first game and you are winning by such an advantage that you don't reveal the hidden tech. It's something you really need to think about. I was playing in the League Cup, and I was playing against Igudra, and I was playing Mew, and he waited until the very end of our first game to drop the second Draper. He needed to drop the second Draper, but he told me, it's like, I really didn't want to show that. I was pretty sure I was going to win, but I just needed to make sure. But he dropped that on me in the second game. I would have no idea. And then that comes out of nowhere. You just drop your Draper on and you just instantly lose, effectively. And like that's the skill. It was like, I really wanted to hold that. I really wanted to hide that. And if he did, it would have been a big surprise.
It's with an advantage, isn't it? It's an advantage in the next game. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we don't go that way. It just feels especially watching again. We'll talk about it shortly. The Milwaukee Regional. It felt the games were a lot longer, and it definitely felt like it either went to a tie either a lot of times, or you got 1.5 games. So it definitely feels like the length of game is longer. Whereas I'm sure when we went to Worlds and watched some of the games, they just flew by. Palkia. It was mainly Palkia at that point. So Palkia was just literally powering up, taking out loads of people on the bench, and then that was it, gone. We'll see. Obviously, it's interesting how much it's changed. If you think back, Andy, to when we started playing back at Battle Styles, so in February 22 to now, it's changed drastically, and that's not even 18 months. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go forward. So finish off this segment with what we've been playing this week. As I mentioned and alluded to, both myself, Chris, and Sean played at Geek Retreat. I will start with Sean. How did it go? And what did you play, and how did it go?
I played the Guardian, so basically the 6th that's hard one at EUIC, but I switched.
Nearly won.
Oh, nearly one. Sorry. and then I switched out a research for a second Baby Guardi. I've basically been playing that since the tournament, and I went 3-0. I faced the Mimikyu deck. Kate's Mimikyu deck. Just every Mimikyu possible. And because I couldn't remember which each one did, so every time it got dropped, I had to keep reading it, and it's like. But I played that. I went 3-0, finished first. Not bad for the first time in a month.
No, not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Beat Chris as well.
So Chris, how did you get on, and what did you play?
I went 2-1. I took a loss to Sean. To be fair, it wouldn't be us playing any competitive Pokemon if we didn't get paired against each other. It actually happened at the top as well.
It's like me and Jamie, that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's mental. Honestly, like when the owner of Geek Retreat, came up and gave us the pairings. Like when he said Sean and Chris, we were like, really again? And he even said that he randomized it twice, and it still came out with you two.
Because obviously test against each other all the time. It's just but I played Miraidon, and I remember sitting and you sat next to me and went, "What are you doing?"
I can't believe you were playing that, to be honest.
Me neither. I played so much Pokemon, and the invite is not there, so it's like I'm just playing for fun right now. And I played loads of Lost Box, played loads of Lugia, and Mew. Played a lot of Mew recently.
As well,
and Gudra, and I've just played like kind of everything that's out there right now, and I'm like on the top tables. And I thought, try a bit more of the. I do love a bit of the rogue or a bit of like tier 2 stuff that could with the right matchup or the right little tech to take that next step. And Miraidon is just fun. It's just really fun to play. It just sets up. You got the the lottery of turning 5 cards over with a generator and just going bang bang bang. And it just attack 6 turns in a row and attack with big numbers as well. I really enjoy the Miraidon deck actually. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. That's why I kind of played it. I think twice now actually.
Andy, did you play this week?
No.
We did a build and battle.
Oh yeah, we did
a pre-release.
An impromptu build and battle at Fanboy.
And you got some cracking pulls, if I remember.
Yeah, weren't too bad. Nothing I wanted. Nothing
I wanted, but I got an art rare this, an art rare that.
Yeah, and the Ascarada. Yeah. But no, other than that, I've not really played physically in a while, to be honest. Now
it was about a month because it was about the league challenge
that
we did at Fanboy,
which
was the beginning of
May. Yeah.
So nearly a month, and I played. So obviously I played with
a month today.
Well, yeah, basically, yeah. So the rust is real, unfortunately.
I've been playing online a little bit, and I've been playing Miraidon as well. To be honest, it's good for the ladder because it sets up quick, and you can take it. You can take quick wins. But other than that, I've been prepping for Chempao. Just looking through cards, like what would be good.
Some really good options, isn't there? To be fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and because I think it's gonna be everywhere. So, Starmie would be a good shout, I think, for the mirror. Starmie V, where
stick
it does
just stick a Luxray reversal energy in your hand.
Yeah.
The big question is, are you putting Palkia in it? Yes or no?
Yeah, Palkia. I play 2/2 Palkia.
So that's the contention right now, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's the contentious one right now. I think a lot of lists. There's a tournament recently, wasn't there, where the Palkia was in it and it did quite well. And there's some people saying, "Why do you need to put Palkia in it?" With all this, and
I think like 50% of the deck list now play Palkia. But I'm looking at putting the Wishy Washy in as just a single prizer plowing a load of energy onto it.
Is it from Evolving Skies? Yeah,
because it gets, if you put three basic water energy on, it gets 150 HP, and it's hitting 30 plus 30 for every basic energy.
So yeah, it does. It hits some big numbers, doesn't it? If you've got some calibers, you've got a couple Chempaos. If you've got 2 or 3 Chempaos, you're able straight away to get 6 from your abilities. 6 in hand, straight away gets 150 HP extra, and then can hit pretty hard. So it's almost like the Shining Arcana Guardy out of nowhere, but a basic, So it's going to be an interesting one. That I think we're going to see a lot of good water Pokemon out there that just needed that energy acceleration. And then I think the only real energy accelerant was Frostmoth. That's rotated. And then you had, is it the Pogo Blastoise not the Radiant one, the normal one.
VMAX.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
No,
the
no, yeah.
Vitality Spring ends your turn.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's really the only, apart from Palkia, obviously, in its V-Star ability. So if Baxcalibur's just going to be busted.
But Baxcalibur can accelerate to anything.
Any Pokemon, yeah.
As long as it attacks colourless. So you got things like Slacking, which does like 260. And yeah, that's what I've been looking at. Other stuff you can kind of shoehorn in that hit big.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things you can do with stuff like that. So you've got like the Spiritomb that's coming out in the same set, which synergizes with the Slacking because it turns your ability off.
Yeah.
So a lot of these energy accelerators, you've got like the thing people looking at the Fortress, which I pulled one, and I was like, before the set, I was like, I'm not dealing with this. No. I pulled it, I was like, oh
yeah,
maybe it's the moments in your hand change. Maybe.
Yeah, literally. And I was like, oh, it's good energy acceleration. Bit of like blow yourself up, Iono.
Iono, yeah, exactly.
And you're already on the back foot for like Iono and Reversal Energy.
Yeah, Reversal Energy has had my brain going this week. Honestly, some of the stuff I've been thinking, oh, go in this, and then I've been just like looking through evolution Pokemon that are in rotation right now. I'm just like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is
yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
There'll always be that card when the community will find it, like the Mawile, the Trapping Mawile came out. Dreepy.
Who'd have thought that'd be a thing?
Well, there's Dreepy with his Infestation as well.
Yeah,
that came out of nowhere. You just always got these additional little Pokemon that just come out of absolutely nowhere, and do really well. But I'm looking forward to Paldea Evolved. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to playing a bit more. Hopefully, now, like I said, we hadn't played for a month. I played on Tuesday. I played Guardy. I made a couple of changes. Mainly, my list was very close to Henry Brand's, who won Milwaukee.
Have you ever played the same list twice?
Yes, sometimes. I usually try and tweak it a little bit, but the only change that the two changes I made from my normal list that I played for Guardy to Henry's was I swapped a Mimikyu EX. I swapped that out for another Zacian V, and then I swapped a third Professor's Research, and I swapped that for, I can't remember what I swapped it for. Choice Belt, actually. Yeah, I swapped it for Choice Belt because that seemed to be doing some work in Milwaukee. Fortunately, it did nothing for me. I want to say it was Rust and Luck of the Draw. My first game was against Turbo Darkrai, so he just literally was able to he just hit. Yeah, he took out he kept bossing. He was running 4 Cross Switcher and 2 Boss, so he just kept bossing up my Guardy EX and just knocking it out with the Darkrai. Barely any energy needed. I think he only needed 3 energy on the board, and he was using the Galarian Moltres V, which had Direwing Flame, so he was able to get Dark Patches, etc. So I had no chance there. So I lost that. I then played a Mew, and I beat the Mew. It was a Fusion Strike Mew, actually, but I think she was a newish player, so I'm not going to take that as a win. I'm just going to take that as a pity win. And then I played Chris. And I'm not going to lie, I had the worst bricking in the Guardy deck I've probably ever had. I literally had at one point 2. So this is my hand after turn 2. I had 2 Ralts and a Mew and shiny. Was it Golden Tail Mew on the bench on the active as well. And then my hand was Roxanne and 2 Gardevoir EX, and then and the Roxanne, and when I drew my next turn, I got an energy. And you just literally with Miraidon, you set up like no tomorrow. Got managed, and you hit the electric generators. Even when you whiffed them, you had another one straight there to go for it. So yeah, I had really, really bad bricking there, and then again the same in the second game. I was able to get a Curlier, but you bossed up a Curlier, took the knockout, and I just had 1 Routes out or 2 Routes out, and had again Roxanne and then Shining Arcana Guardy. I just had no draw at all, which is weird for a guard deck. I started Zacian, I think, in the active. Out of all my games, 90% of my games started with Zacian in the active. So it's just not a good start, So I didn't do very well. I am going to blame the rust and also luck of the draw. But then, and then I think we had a really, really quick game, didn't we? Where I tried Arc Gira. And my opening, I went first. My opening hand was an Arceus. I had an Arceus V-Star in my hand and then just loads of energy. So I couldn't even do anything on turn 1, and then you were able to get the turn 1 knockout. So
the thing with Arceus decks, if you don't start with Arceus and your other Pokemon, it's
rough.
It's really hard to stay on top.
No, it is rough. It was rough, but I miss playing. I think that was the main thing, really. I really miss playing. Like Chris said at the start, I got the bug to play again. So I'm trying. And I know obviously we've got Paldea Evolved again. Whilst you guys are listening, Paldea Evolved will technically be out. So then we've got a 14-day wait then until it's actually legal to play. So what date does that fall on when it's actually legal? Let me just have a quick look. It will be legal from the 23rd of June onwards, which isn't far away. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to playing some new decks, some new techs. Maybe when I say new decks, I'm just playing Guardy with reversal energy and looks right. Or depending on my pulls, I've got some stock coming. So depending on my pulls, maybe I do fancy the Meowscarada deck as well. Quite like the idea of the Meowscarada deck with a Fortress as well. So
it's good on paper, right? Meowscarada.
We did. So as you guys are aware, we did the Chen Pao versus Guardy tabletop gameplay, which again, thank you to everyone who's watched it. It's absolutely blown.
Really well,
it's blown our expectations away. I think it was about 4,500 views. And lots of comments on it, and people enjoying it. So it was. We actually did a couple more games of that deck, and then we also did Meowscarada versus Gardevoir as well. However, unfortunately, we had technical difficulties, and out of the 3 games, the only one we recorded was the one where Meowscarada lost.
And we weren't going to showcase that.
So, but it's actually quite good, with Radiant Alakazam moving stuff about. It was just, again, the same as Guardy, but it's not got the draw of Guardy. It's trying to get those stage 2 up as quick as possible. But with Guardy, at least you've got the Curlier for the draw. And obviously you got the Radiant Greninja as well. With the Meowscarada, it's not as effective as that, because your Sprigatito and Florigato aren't as good as
Routes and
Curlier. So that helps. And then obviously you're moving the damage counters around, so you need the Radiant Alakazam, so you can't have the Radiant Greninja for draw. So I felt it struggled for draw, but it'd be interesting to see what lists come out. I think I saw some playing Hisuian Lilligant, which its V-Star ability is pretty good. I think it's you just can take up to, is it a number 5 energy and grass 5
Pokemon,
energy and grass Pokemon, and so that was pretty good. But again, I'm good. I'm happy to see it. I'd like to see a good grass deck do well. I'd really like to see that. I really would, because it's been a while. I mean,
I've been waiting a while, haven't you?
I have been.
You mentioned it a couple of times.
I tried to champion the Shaman Zarude, and it just didn't work. Even with Rillaboom, it was just getting to the stage 2 was so difficult. So, but yeah, we'll definitely see. So yeah, got the bug to play it again just in time for Paldea Evolved. So perfect timing. So before we look forward to Paldea Evolved, we have discussed and mentioned there was a couple of tournaments last weekend. So there was 2 regionals, and there was a special event. So I've kind of already spoiled the results for the regional in Milwaukee, but just to confirm, the regional in Milwaukee was over 1,100 players, which again is just the figures are getting huge, aren't they? If you think that EUIC was just over 1,500, and a regional in America is getting just over 1,100, it just goes to show how popular the game's actually getting. But it was won by Henry Brand. So Henry is an Australian player, and he came over to win a regional. I think he already had his world invite. I want to say he had his world invite already.
Yeah.
And he just came over for some testing. I think he came over for some testing.
Was just for fun, I think,
and he ended up winning.
Yeah,
I think he Australia have 4 day 2 spots. I think he was coming over for NAIC, because I've seen some stuff on this. I think he was coming over for NAIC, and he came over a bit earlier, and because the tournaments have lined up in a line, he's got like this one, Fresno, I think is next week.
Fresno's
and then NAIC like 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, the 30th, I think.
So I think he's just chasing a few points to get into just into the top 4 of Australia. Because I think fifth. It was fifth. I think he's short now.
Well, he didn't do any. He didn't do his chances.
Stuff that comes with it, doesn't he? Like the stipend and.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, it must make a massive difference. But I mean, he obviously did well, and to his goal towards that, coming top in Milwaukee. So I'm just going to share my screen just so that you guys can all see the list that he played. So this is a 60 that he played. Given that Sean is the seasoned Guardi player, and mainly because Alex isn't here, is there anything in there that really screams out to you? You know, I think I already mentioned the choice belt, but is there anything really there that shouts to you, oh, that's a good change, or is it all just subjective, basically?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what I play, but like the belt, I don't play the belt. And I don't know, like the Steel Stone, I think I prefer the Sky Steel Stone, because I feel like in a lot of matches, just getting that extra prize, it's just like the comeback potential. And maybe when Paldeo Evolve comes out and like Iona, you don't need to rely on it as much. So maybe I might start playing Steel Stone or Forest Steel Stone. But then like the choice belt, I'd like to put one in, but it's probably the biggest problem. It's like, what do you take out for it, really? Like, what space do you make for it?
Well, he's definitely trimmed down on the professor's research, which, in my experience, I found I always held on to professor's researches, but then it was always handy because you had something to refinement away, so it was always quite handy. But I mean, do you get much benefit from the professor's research yourself, or?
Yeah, it's like, I think when it comes up, when you got like a researchable hand, like going to like turn 2 or turn 3, obviously it helps with thinning the deck. But like, I can understand just going down to 2 with it, because if you're in a pinch, you can just go like Flaminion, and if you get in the 7 cards and you're setting up, you should be able to get rid of it as well at the same turn. Like maybe collapse it off your bench.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see the 2 research, because I play 3 now.
Yeah, no, but I agree. I found a lot of the time, especially early game, when I came into research, I had a really good hand, and I didn't mind getting rid of the energy. That's fine, but all of a sudden, when I'm trying to keep maybe a Penny or a Miriam for later on in the game, or I've got it's early game and I've got a Gardevoir EX and a Shining Arcana Guardian, I don't want to be researching them away, and I found that happens a lot more than I like to admit. So going down to 2, I don't think is a bad idea. But again, Forest Steel Stone, I feel that's subjective. Apart from that, it's relatively standard. It's a good list and it works. Guardi is getting the results now, and it finally won a major tournament, so it was able to just get that win. So obviously, with there being a winner, there was always someone who got the second place as well. So second place went to Caleb Gedimer, who was playing Lost Box. I've watched quite a lot of Caleb's games, and he's a very, very good player. But the final, I felt he had some horrendous luck with Pokestop, I think.
Yeah.
On both games, he had some really, really tough luck. But again, I don't think there's much to say really about Lost Box that we've not already said before. It's Kyogre, the Turbo Kyogre build seems to be the one that everyone's going for, and it's incredibly potent. Even when you're in a real crap position at the end of the game, that Kyogre can just absolutely win it for you, and it can turn the tides, literally turn the tides with Aquastorm. So it's good. I think Caleb as well himself, he's been getting some really good results recently. If you look at his placings, he's been getting consistently in the top 20s really. Obviously, second in Milwaukee, came 17th in Hartford. In Fort Wayne, he did come 116th, but I'm going to blame the Reggie Gigas deck because it's Reggie's. Came 20th in Vancouver, 9th in San Diego. And again, you can see it's pretty much consistently all lost box. But then he did play Mewtwo Control back in Baltimore.
He's mates with like Azul, so he's in that play testing group. So they all play Lost Box, so they're like the king of Lost Box at the minute.
Is he part of Rare Candy though? I think Caleb's part of Rare Candy.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think, yeah. And then we had an Arc Gira, which again just seems to be before Scarlet and Violet, when we were talking, amongst ourselves, everyone was like Lost Box is definitely the best decking format, and then potentially, Gira Lost Box was seeing a lot of play over in Japan. It was doing well. I can't believe how little it's being played over in Europe and the States, but it's getting no play. But Art Gira out of nowhere has come and just done incredibly well. Now this one for Ben's list, it's a bit odd really. It's not playing the Squovet, which I thought was quite a good little tech. It's playing obviously the Barbaro line, playing Dunsparce instead of the Squovet. What do you think of that? I mean, what's the benefit? To me, obviously, the Gira's not got any weakness. Arceus does have weakness to fighting, but what fighting are we playing?
Well, if
many people play fighting. Maybe in the next set, I think Tinglu, but I'm not sure what Dunsparce was teching for, but obviously it's there and he's done well. He got top 4. So he's done very well.
It's a single strike, isn't it? Single strike stone
Lugias.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But again, I mean, we said it on Tuesday, Chris. Judge Path is just so powerful, isn't it? 4 Judge, 4 Path. Ultimate disruption, just completely screw your opponent's game up and laugh at it while they're doing it. So, but Arc Gira is a deck that's not going away, and it's only getting better. I'm not sure, I am curious to see what it benefits from in Paldea Evolved. It would be really interesting to see. But that kind of rounds out the top 4. Oh no, sorry, Azul got top 4. Sorry as well. Lost Box again. We said Caleb. He's into Caleb's testing group. Brian
60 as well.
Is it the exact same 60 as well? Yeah. So we've also got Brian Okray. He was playing Mew, but this looks like it was DTE Mew. So he was playing DTE Mew, which is quite interesting because we saw a lot of Fusion Mew get a lot of play recently. It's won 2 tournaments recently, and it's been doing very, very well. And then apart from that, I think the only other thing really is there wasn't that much Lugia in this, to be honest. We got Mohamed Idis. He got top 10 with Lugia. Single strike Urshifu Lugia. I've documented my thoughts on Lugia many a time on this podcast. And I know Chris is a big advocate of it. But I can't go back to it. It's like an X. I just can't go back to it now. I think
the power level is so high, but playing is not fun. It's not fun to play.
It's not. No, not at all. When
you get like 7 cards and go from there.
It's just lost that spark now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not a fun deck to play.
No, definitely not. And then the only other deck really is the Miraidon, Fluffy Miraidon by Wesley Hollenberg. This seems to be doing well. It's not really a Miraidon deck, because I think Miraidon's just there for its ability, really, to be honest. But it's just it's a cool deck. It's a cool running deck. I love it. The Raichu as well getting play, which is something I think back over in our original first ever tabletop gameplay, Andy, for Miraidon, before the set even came out, we were playing Raichu, so we were ahead of the curve, and Fluffy as well. I've always thought I always thought when this deck came out, it needed the Fluffy, but I know Electric Generator is so powerful, but to me, I think the Fluffy is still such a key necessity. Yeah. But when it first came out, the 60 was so tight you couldn't fit it in anywhere. Yeah. But I'm glad now it's definitely making space. Regieleki VMAXs have gone really as well, because I don't think you need that. I think the Raichu makes up that kind of drop in damage, because it can hit really hard. And also that hopefully means that Regieleki VMAX prices will go down, because they were obscene before.
That's what I've been playing with recently, using Regieleki V and Klefki and switching bolt.
Just completely.
Oh yeah.
It really annoys people on the ladder.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
There is there's a turbo. There's a turbo Miraidon list. I don't know where it is. It finished like decently high in Milwaukee. It's Miraidon with the what's the I can't think of the name of the ability. The Mew that searches the items.
Mysterious Tale.
Yeah, it's,
here we go.
Yeah,
here we go. This is
that
it.
is some sauce right there.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
All gas.
It's very light on the Pokemon, isn't it?
It's all gas. I mean, you are talking
Just three.
Like, go with that.
4
You know,
Miraidon, 3 Mew, 2 Raikou.
I suppose it does the job, doesn't it? Because I might be funny, Miraidon, you get your stuff out straight away. You've got no issue. And then you've got the nest ball. You've got the nest ball for the Mews. It's interesting. That's really interesting.
The deck I took interesting from here actually is that it's a Klefki Arceus deck. It's just kind of Klefki Arceus and Aerodactyl, and it just says no. But it's just if you can find it and bring it out, it's interesting because that with the Klefki kind of shuts down like Lost Box and Mew and causes trouble there. And the Aerodactyls there to stop Lugia and kind of one-shots opponent Arceus as well, because the Arceus decks are getting big, especially with the Umbrons and things like that. And the Aerodactyl actually comes an attacker. And the Arceus there again is just Arceus, right? He provides consistency, and then if you've got like Sharon's Care in there, he's a pain to knock out because you can pick him up. And I'm really intrigued actually. I might look into it. I do love a good Say No deck.
I mean, that one that we just showed with the Mew that came top 38th in Milwaukee. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
You've got some really interesting ones when you look down. Obviously, Rapid Strike Box game top 50. The one I wanted to look at, where was it? I saw it before. Obviously, we know that Arc Dura Umbreon is a thing, and it still seems to be a thing, and people are going to be playing it. Here we go. Palkia Gardevoir got 81st.
Oh.
It's a bit of a weird one, this, isn't it?
Palkia Gardevoir.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got your Guardy, but you're playing Baby Guardy.
With Kyogre.
You're playing Palkia. You're playing Greninja, Kyogre, Manaphy, Articuno with the Wild Freeze. You got your Irida, Melon. I think that's really cool, actually. I love these types of decks. That just a little bit different, and the Canceling Cologne, the Echoing Horn. I think the amazing thing is only one Psychic Energy.
The Shining Arcana accelerates energy, right? It's not psychic energy.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
energy.
Just energy. Yeah. That's
What position did that come?
came in the top 100.
Wow.
81st, wasn't it?
81st, yeah, I think it was, yeah. Can you imagine sitting down, setting up, your Ralts comes down, you're like, okay, I'm playing Guardy here, and then the Curly comes down, you're like, okay, got this. Then a Palkia comes down out of nowhere. Like, what the hell am I playing? But that kind, I mean, this just goes to show Aquastorm is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and I suppose to be fair, with the Curlier, with the Gardevoir deck, you do burn through the deck really, really quickly. If you're doing Radiant Greninja and you're doing Curlier Refinement a couple of turns, you're going through your deck really quickly. Get an energy recycler, get all those water energies back into your deck. You can hit some serious numbers with the Aquastorm for closing the game. I would
Dicey only playing 2 though.
I'd like to try this, but I think it's very luck of the draw, I would say. I think if you open up with Palkia, I don't think you're doing very well. But hey ho, it did very, very well in Milwaukee. So fair play. That's amazing. That's why I like some random decks occasionally. You do see. I did see it. I saw Darkrai came 80th. Turbo Darkrai for James Funk came 95th, and then you've actually got just a Palkia deck itself came 97th. So it's been a while since you've seen just a pure Palkia deck. But this one's again a really, really cool one. You got the Bidoof Bibaro line. You got your Empoleon, which I think is a really cool Pokemon. The Starmie, as you mentioned, Andy. You've obviously got I think that's a real big attacker. If you're able to get the energy on the board, It's been a while since we've seen just a Palkia deck, and it's nice to see because it's going to be just Chempao everywhere now from Paldea Evolved onwards. Chempalkia. So that's Milwaukee. As I mentioned, there was another 2 events. So the other event that happened was the special event in Turin. That was won by Max Tubert. He won it with Lugia. Let's have a quick look at his deck to see if there's anything in particular that stood out. I think relatively it's a single strike Urshifu. That seems to be the choice now. Tyranitar's obviously still there. You've got the Yveltal. No Stonejourner, which is interesting to see. And then obviously you've got the Thornton as well, which is seeing getting a lot more play actually these days. Seeing Thornton in a lot more decks recently. I could never pull it off personally. I always left it too late, or I got it really early on. It's like a research, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but yeah, Lugia is going nowhere. I think in Paldea Evolved it gets even stronger with the Snorlax seems to be getting a lot of play with the therapeutic energy, which helps it. Then Leon Kesselring, again, Leon's well-known, really good player. He was playing a DTE version of Mew VMAX. Again, we spoke about this on Geek Retreat. The cleansing gloves seem to be getting a lot of play these days for the Mew Mirror and also for Guardi EX. So that helps. But yeah, I mean, this special event, 544 players. We also could see there's a Lost Box top 3, and then a Fusion Mew as well to round out the top 4. So yeah, definitely interesting. Our friend of the show, Shy Burton, he got pulled in last minute, didn't he, for commentating. So it was good to see Shy back in the commentator seat with his suit. He's renowned for that suit now. I'm sure of it. It's the light baby pink suit.
So is the baby blue or the pink? Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, he's very, very, very stylish, Shy. But then we go over to Santiago in Chile, 729 players. Again, this tournament was won by Pedro Petrucci. This was won by a looks like a Guardi Mewtwo v Union deck. I've thought about running this. Have you ever thought about it, Sean? Obviously, you're the Guard connoisseur here.
Have you ever thought about it? Yeah. Then, the big issue is trying to get the V Unions because aren't they like £60 for the playset?
Didn't used to be, because I used to have it and I sold it for very, very cheap back in the day, and I regret it now.
I regret it now. Pretty sure the V Union's really expensive to get hold of. So I think I'd like to try it, but I just can't get hold of it.
Yeah, I did see someone on Facebook was selling it for £55, still sealed in the box, and I thought, should I take a punt on that? And then I lost the listing and I can't find it. So someone's got a bargain, especially because it obviously comes with packs. I'm not interested in the packs; it is just purely about the V Union. So, but I do think, given Paldea Evolved coming out, I think the Reversal Energy is probably stronger than the V Union. That's maybe a bold statement, but that's my opinion. But yeah, that's obviously congratulations for that. And again, another Guardi winner. Kind of rounding out the top 8 is Arc Gira, a Lost Box, Arc Dura Umbreon. Do they call it Arc Dumbrion? I think they call it Arc Dumbrion now. A Guardi, a Lost Box, another Guardi, and a Lost Zone Gira box. So I did say that it barely gets any play, but it did make top 8 in this regional. So yeah, it's interesting. As Chris alluded to, there's a couple more coming up. So as you can see, we've got this weekend. So by the time this is out, tomorrow we will have a special event in Johannesburg in South Africa, and then we've also got the Fresno regional. So again, more watching to be done, especially whilst opening packs of Paldea Evolved and creating some decks. So yeah, looking forward to it. And as you can see, there's not much left now of the season. It's coming to a rapid close. We've got obviously a special event the week after in Cape Town, and then we've got the big one, NAIC. I think that all eyes are going to be on NAIC for seeing how the Paldea Evolve decks fare. Boring. It's so boring for Lost Zone, just as box standard Lost Zone, but Lost Zone box wins it. I'll be gutted. But yeah, and then it's all eyes to the 11th of August for the World Championships. Unfortunately, none of us got our invites. And unfortunately, I'm not able to make it out to Japan. But I know that the Marley brothers are going to Japan. So are you going to actually going to the championships at any point?
We are still waiting for the confirmation email from the lottery.
Yeah.
Which was
Yeah. I know they've just closed the lottery system now, so it's just going to be the draw waiting now.
Yeah, but I think have you seen that they did announce that the competitors get 2 spectator passes as well? So I wonder, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of selling online. But yeah, I think we know quite a few people going to Worlds and competing, so I'm sure you'll be able to get a spectators pass there, and we'll be able to help you out there 100%. So moving on then from tournaments, last week we were heavily speaking about Pokemon 151, and we questioned, is it going to be part of Obsidian Flame? Is it going to be, when's it coming out? Are we going to get it? And it's been confirmed today that Pokemon Card 151 is going to come out in English, and it's going to be released in September the 22nd, and it's our first holiday set of the Scarlet and Violet era. So looking forward to it. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think I might try and master it, but I reckon it's going to be a big set, because you've got the 151, then you've got all the additional.
I think it's 180 cards.
So many, and it's so many. It's so many.
Like secret and characterized and stuff like that.
It's like 151 plus the 30 very expensive alt arts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there are some phenomenal alt arts in this. Some serious. But yeah, I mean, given it's a first holiday set, I think it mentions here an ultra premium collection. I've managed to get an ultra premium collection each time I've had a release. So I got the one from Celebrations. I managed to get the Charizard, which I think actually, if they print them the level of the Charizard UPCs, I think we're in a good place. If they print them in the level of the Celebrations, we're in a really bad place.
Yeah.
So I think
they've learned from Celebrations now. So I think going forward, any UPCs will get printed like the Charizard one in the same.
Yeah.
The problem with the Charizard one is now it's actually going for under retail. I think there's places selling it for 90-80 pounds now, and it was meant to retail at 120. But yeah, and then obviously the Arceus as well. There was an Arceus ultra premium collection as well, which was exclusive to Game in the UK and GameStop in America, if I'm correct. But yeah, I mean 151, I'm really looking forward to it. I know they're just coming out too quick. So if this is Friday the 22nd of September for this, and then we also have Obsidian Flame, which is in the beginning of August as well. So we're literally a month and a half later, just drowning in sets. I mean, I'm not going to complain, but my wallet is going to complain. I'm sure my wife will complain as well. But we've covered majority of the EXs that have come out, and as you can see on the screen, there's a wide variety of new EXs coming, new trainers coming, there's just so much coming out, and it's really going to hit the nostalgia. Now, the last card that has been announced is the Zapdos. So I think, in my opinion, they saved the best to last. So Zapdos EX is a lightning Pokemon. It's a basic Pokemon with a HP of 200. It's got an ability called Bolt Float. So if this Pokemon has any lightning energy attached to it, it has no retreat cost. And then for 3 lightning energy, it's got multi-shot lightning, 120 damage. And this attack also does 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So this is the card, which is a pretty card. It's a nice card. I quite like it. But nothing compares to this. That is a stunning card. That is absolutely fantastic.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. It's gonna. I'm gonna go for that card. Like, even if I don't go for the set, I'm going for that card. I love me the birds. But yeah, what's your thoughts and opinions, Chris and Sean, on the 151? Given that Obsidian Flames so going to be out for just a couple of basically a month before this comes out, but obviously, given that you're long-time Pokemon fans, does this really kind of, in terms of playability, I think there's quite a few playable cards, but does it really hit you in the nostalgia and then the wallet?
Yeah, both, definitely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the wallet side will restrict the nostalgia. But there's definitely some like interesting cards as well, which is not just nostalgia, like the competitive side. Like something as simple as like the Wigglytuff, which is just, it's not a card that gets immense attention regularly, is it? But this one's actually kind of huge HP. I mean, the HP is massive.
Yeah.
You just think of that. There's a point where the HP is so big it doesn't really matter what the attacks do, because your opponent is not going to be able to do anything. With any Colress and Sharon's Care and silly stuff, basically.
Yeah, and then we've got the Alakazam that can actually attack from the bench. So it's got some really cool elements to it. And then we did see with there's some new trainers coming out, which I think are going to be quite impressive in the format. There's some new. Isn't there a new stadium, Bicycle Road? Is it? That's basically just I think it's straight going to Guardy. I'm sure that's just going to go straight into a Guardy deck. If I can remember what it does, I would tell you, but I can't. But I'm pretty sure it heals. I'm sure it heals something. I'm sure it heals Pokemon probably. But yeah. So yeah. But whilst we're talking about Obsidian Flames, and given the fact that we've only just had Paldea Evolved pre-release pretty much in the past week or two, the Obsidian Flames pre-release promos have actually been announced and released. So the Pokemon they've gone for this time are Palafin, Cleffa, Togekiss, and Mawile. Artwork's pretty cool. So for example, so here you go, you've got the Palafin, really cool promo. But I mean, I love this Pokemon in the game. But again, Jet Punch for 30. It's a stage 1, so it evolves from Finizen. Jet Punch for 30, and it does also 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then for 2 water energy, it's got Justice Kick for 210. If this Pokemon didn't move from the bench to the active spot this turn, this attack does nothing. So it needs, obviously, it's a good sucker puncher, if that makes sense. So I think that'd be quite good.
Good for Chempo.
Yeah, I think again everyone goes with Chempo, unfortunately. We've also got Cleffa, Grasping Draw cards until you have 7 cards in your hand. Nothing amazing there, but I really like the artwork.
That just feel like the new Snorlax. The Gormandizer Snorlax.
The Gormandizer, of course, really cool artwork. I really do like the artwork, to be fair. Then we've got the Togekiss, a stage 2 Pokemon, 150 HP. Ability is Precious Gift. Once at the end of your turn, after your attack, we use this ability, draw cards until you have 8 in hand. I think it's really, really cool. Then two colorless Power Cyclone for 110 damage. Move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. Again, I think that's pretty cool. Problem is a stage 2, but I think that's not as much of a problem as it used to be. And then finally, we've got a Mawile. Basic 90 HP Pokemon, Steel type, ability Special Eater. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Pretty cool, quite like that. And then for 2 colorless and a steel, or is it metal energy they call it, Sharp Fang for 90. Pretty cool. I mean, I actually had a conversation with the owner of the Geek Retreat in Bury on Tuesday following that, because obviously myself and Andy have done 2 pre-releases now. I got the Murkrow in the second one. Andy got a Murkrow both times.
Yep.
And then I got also Pelipper the first time. The disparity in the decks is so bad. You know, the fact that they were going after this United Wings where discard, but then only give you a Professor's Research and 1 Ultra Ball to discard in the deck is awful. It's just so bad. It's just it's absolutely annoying. But if you've got the Tinkerton or the Max Caliber, you're wiping the floor with that pre-release. And I've never known I've always found pre-release is obviously it's random, you know, it's RNG. But the disparity, usually if you get a deck, you can at least do something with it. The disparity this time has been so bad. I've never known it. So hopefully this is going to be something good. Looks like we've got a little bit better already, but we'll have to see. Be interesting to see what obviously the Clefairy is that evolves, or if it is just the Cleffa just for draw, really. But at least Gormandize, you were able to attack sometimes. So yeah, I think that wraps it up for the news this week. So moving on to our final segment of the podcast, it's my favorite section of the podcast. It is RTFC, which stands for Read the Flipping Card. So given that we've got a special co-host with us this week, we thought we'd hand it over to to Chris and Sean to decide which RTFC they're going to do this week.
Or they can do one each.
Or they can do one each. It's up to you. It'll be up to you. No pressure.
I think mine would have to be Mimikyu VMAX because I've not played that card in so long. And I remember it was a counter spreader, but I couldn't remember how bad of a counter spreader it was. And it was lucky he didn't play any sort of premonition because I think I would have lost.
Was he not?
Well, he had it in his hand, but I managed to knock it. I managed to win game like the turn before he managed to pull the play off because he would have got a KO on my EX and my V. So
it's a lot of counters if he plays it, right? It's a lot of damage.
13
counters.
damage counters.
I think yeah.
I used to play.
Yeah. Mine is Dracozolt VMAX. I didn't play against it, but someone else who was playing Miraidon while we're there said they were playing this, and I was like, I don't even know what it does. I only had to give me the card and I had to read it, and the concept is cool, but not on a 3-prizer. It's during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, put 12 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. That's Spark Track for 60. So it's a cool concept. And the other attack is for 1 lightning, 3 colorless, 4 energy, 200 damage. So it's cool. If you're going against Lost Box, something like that, I mean, you hit you with to be fair, I don't know what, because you're hitting it for 60 and there's something better down. I had to read it. I wasn't convinced. I'd have to
you don't sound convinced still, but at least you had to read it.
I'm looking at the 1 energy for 60, and I'm like, this. You're putting a VMAX into play. There's a lot of things that can do 1 or 2 energy.
Yeah.
Knock out Sableye. The revenge for 12 damage counts. I'm not sure what it's picking up. I don't. Either. I mean, it's a lightning Pokemon, right? It goes right on. Yeah. Not for me though.
And just for our listeners, just for confirmation that the Mimikyu VMAX for 2 colorless energy does ominous numbers, which is put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon anywhere you like. But if you had played Ace Roller's Premonition from your hand during this turn, place 13 damage counters instead. So yeah, doesn't get much play, I can imagine. I don't think it gets much play at all, but I like the kind of Pokemon where you put damage counters as opposed to damage. I quite like that. So again, it's very playable, but yeah, I don't see it much. I mean, I tried to get the Mimikyu EX into the Guardi deck because I thought it was quite a good shred for Goodra, and I thought I thought the Goo would see a lot more play than it actually has. So, but yeah, no, I've just kind of avoided that and gone straight back to an extrazation. So.
I used to play Mimikyu VMAX with Rapidash V. So use the Rapidash, reduce them down to 100 HP, and then next turn come up with the VMAX and drop the damage counters.
When I faced it, you had the Earth Seal Stone, which is 3 energy, and it makes all your Vs go to 100 HP.
Yeah. I think the problem with that is I don't see many. I mean, I say that we don't see many Vs, but I definitely feel if you look at the Guardi, you're playing Zacian V. If you look at Miraidon, I suppose you are playing a few Vs there. You're playing Regieleki, Raichu. But if you look at the meta decks, they're all mainly playing like 1 prizes or V stars. Does the stone count to Vs or just Vs, or is it V maxes and V stars, or is it just Vs?
Yeah,
but it's Vs, so it count as all of them. But
yeah, it just says Pokemon V, which V max,
V star, V max, and V star. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see it
for
some play.
Arc Umbreon, I suppose.
Yeah.
Got those big V maxes because quite often they play like Club Stadium, right? And they bump off like or Volo or all sorts of really random stuff.
Earth Seal Stone was good with Jolteon as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that was really good because it took advantage with these. It's fun. Is it Max Rumble? Is that the name of the attack?
Max Thunder Rumble.
That's it. I know my stuff. I know Pokemon. Well, thank you, guys, for the RTFCs. Some really good ones. And I want to thank you again for joining me and Andy this week in a new lineup of the Trading Court. So thank you for jumping in. We're going to kind of do the kind of wrap up now. So where, if people want to get like contact you and get follow you on social media, etc., what's the best avenues for that?
It's just Marley's TCG.
Okay,
As simple as that.
Okay, that's nice and simple. So yeah, if you want to follow Chris or Sean on Twitter, it's at Marley TCG. The best place to catch us on Twitter is at Training Court. We also do have an Instagram account, which is at Training Court TCG. To listen to us or to watch us, the best place to do it is on YouTube. So youtube.com and then type in Training Court TCG. I believe it's at Training Court TCG. If you want to listen to us, we are on Podbean, so the trainingcourt.podbean.com. We also stream on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Again, just type on your respective apps Training Court TCG and you'll be able to find us. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week, and we will catch you all next week. Take care.